We got to give it the Queen of Tubi, Erica Mena, for this one. It's too bad she's not an unhinged villain in it, though. 17-year-old Angela stays with her Aunt Kristen while her parents are on vacation. Off to college in a few months, Angela shares with Kristen that she doesn't want to go to college because she wants to pursue modeling. She shows Kristen a modeling contest audition that's going to be held the next day and says that the winner will receive a $50,000 contract with American Eagle. Don't do it, girl. Kristen urges Angela to finish her education first, reminding her that her parents are working hard to give her the best life and doesn't let her go to the audition, pissing off Angela. The next day, Angela apologizes to Kristen for being too extra last night. Kristen says it's all good because she was young once. She says she used to throw it back all the time, but now she's even better at catching bad guys as an assistant district attorney. Kristen goes to court and delivers her closing argument against Officer Swanson, who was charged with selling narcotic substances he had seized for almost a decade. Meanwhile, Angela goes to the modeling audition. After Kristen wins the case, her co-workers applaud her 98% conviction rate. Then Angela video calls Kristen to inform her that she went to the audition. Before Kristen can even leave the office to pick Angela up, Angela gets attacked. Angela screams, asking Kristen for help, so Kristen calls for help. By the end of it, Angela is laying on an ottoman with a pool of blood. Death by ottoman would be diabolical. Chief of Police Stan Bowler informs Kristen that they don't know where Angela is, and they've traced Angela's call to a little shady photography studio, but the actual call was made in a parking lot. The studio is owned by an Asian man named Hong Wu, who is out of town, and they don't have a way of figuring out who had the space at the time. Sobbing, Kristen informs Angela's parents, Giovanni and Leslie, and Angela's younger sister, Diana, about Angela's death. Leslie screams and experiences a breakdown. Stan informs Kristen that Angela's corpse was found posed in a trash bin in the woods near Jansen Park, and they found a tiny hair, which is enough for DNA. There was no blood, which means that she was killed somewhere else. Detective Pablo Espinosa, the one handling Angela's case, sees Stan with Kristen and the police report. He angrily calls them out, saying they're jeopardizing his investigation. The fruit salad warns Kristen to stay off his case, otherwise he'll have her disbarred. After Espinosa leaves, Stan informs Kristen that years back, Espinosa was partnered with Swanson. He assures her that Espinosa is one of their best detectives, and that, despite his issue with her, he will be professional and by the book. Later that night, Kristen finds Leslie unconscious after consuming bottles of hydroxycut. Fortunately, Leslie is taken to the hospital on time, and the doctor says that she's going to be okay. Sobbing, Leslie apologizes and tells Kristen that losing her favorite daughter is too painful for her to bear. Kristen asks her to fight for them, especially for her other daughter. Shortly after, Kristen gets a call from Stan, who informs her that they've arrested Angela's killer, Vernon Wilkins, after his DNA matched the one found at the crime scene. During the court hearing, the defense requests that the charges against Vernon be dismissed because the DNA has apparently been contaminated, making it no longer a viable source of evidence. Since the state doesn't have any other evidence prepared to present, Judge Jacqueline Rice grants the defense's motion to throw out the case and freeze Vernon. As Leslie experiences another breakdown, Vernon provokes Kristen, saying, "Hey, Auntie," and "Help me, Auntie," a few of Angela's last words. Kristen angrily screams at Vernon, saying she knows he did it and she won't let him get away with it. With a smile on his face, he makes a gesture of clicking a camera. Kristen wants to slap him so hard he's going to end up in a Tyler Perry project. 1 month later, Kristen starts a detective board, determined to solve Angela's case herself. Kristen takes a leave from work and takes Vernon's files from the office. When her boss, Cooper, sees it, he reminds her of his advice to stay off the case, but she reminds him that they lost because she took his advice. He says there's a difference between justice and vengeance. Kristen later asks Dr. Green for Vernon's address, promising her that she won't get in trouble. Espinosa heads to the forensic lab, questions the forensic pathologist about what happened to the DNA sample in Angela's case, and discovers that Officer Howard's name is on the sign-in roster. When questioned, Howard asks Espinosa not to villainize him because they have to get back at Kristen for taking down their partner Swanson, indirectly admitting that he let Angela's killer go free to settle a score. Officer Logan, together with a group of cops, backs up Howard, saying he only did what he felt was right and warns them to back off. Just because Howard's same skin folk don't mean he kinfolk. He's a pig at the end of the day. Kristen heads to Vernon's house, and when she takes a photo of him, her flash goes off. Vernon notices this and looks in her direction, prompting Kristen to hide. Kristen heads to the crime scene. Shortly after, Espinoza arrives and, instead of making her leave, he points out the spot where he thinks Angela was killed based on the luminol test. He also informs her about what the cops did and apologizes for failing their family. He tries to shoot his shot, but she rejects the lil shorty. Vernon preys on another aspiring model, Lynette, and brings her to an art exhibit. There, Vernon points at a photo of Angela's hand and tells Lynette that it's his favorite. Kristen, who continues to tail Vernon, hears this. Vernon brings Lynette back to his apartment, and Kristen sees them hug and kiss on the balcony. Vernon takes photos of Lynette and then turns to the direction where Kristen is parking to take a photo of her. Kristen later warns Lynette that she's putting her life in danger through her association with Vernon. Lynette says she doesn't believe that Vernon has anything to do with Angela's death, as there are hundreds of women dying to be with him. Literally. She says that a single good word from Vernon can propel a model's career, and she is willing to give up her kitty in order to become a model. When she says Angela wanted to be a model too, Kristen reminds her that Angela was 17 years old. She says Angela felt pain, despair, betrayal, and a cold steel blade between her ribs. She adds that she's going to feel all of that too if she isn't going to be careful around Vernon. The next day, Kristen informs Stan and Cooper that she believes Vernon's next victim is Lynette, urging them to take action before it's too late. However, the two men are distracted by her, melons. They inform her that they have been watching Vernon and that he boarded a 6:30 a.m. first-class flight to Paris that morning. Kristen angrily mentions that Vernon had the audacity to display a photo of Angela's hand at the exhibit, which is up for auction, and asks to have him detained for suspicion. When Stan calls her out for tailing Vernon, saying she's out of line, she confronts him and calls him out for not punishing his men, who jeopardized the case. They order her to stay away from Vernon, or she'll risk her career. Kristen's boyfriend Martin visits Kristen in her house and sees her detective board. Concerned for her safety, he urges her to let the police do their job. Consumed with guilt, Kristen refuses to give up and tells Martin that he's either going to support her or break up with her. Because of this, Martin bounces. Then Lynette's corpse is found, and Vernon develops the photos he took from his crime. That night, Leslie is livid that nothing has been done so far. She wants to take matters in her own hands. However, Kristen says there are rules she has to follow. Then Kristen receives gifts and an apology text inviting her to a late dinner. To her shock, Vernon shows up at the restaurant instead of Martin. She gets up to leave, but he insinuates that he has Martin and forces her to have dinner with him, promising to give her Martin's phone and location after. Vernon reveals that he knew she was following him because she wears the same rare perfume his mom used to wear. He smelled her perfume at court and at the gallery. He provokes her by saying fate brought them together, prompting her to promise to take him down herself. He reveals that they have arrested the man responsible for the crime and asks that they start anew because justice has been served. He gives her Martin's phone, tells her that he's in room 4266 in the Marriott, and asks her to hurry because he will soon be unconscious. Kristen arrives at the Marriott and sees Espinoza. When they go to room 4266, they find Martin with another woman, prompting Kristen to break up with the trifling man. Kristen informs Espinoza about what happened with Vernon. He gives her a gun and instructs her to pack before bringing her to a safe place to stay. Espinoza visits Vernon's apartment to confront him about him trying to intimidate Kristen. He points a gun at Vernon, who then shows him his home camera, saying he can easily be charged with discrimination. Espinoza puts down his gun, and Vernon teases him that he obviously wants Kristen's melons. Espinoza calls Kristen to inform her that they've questioned the hoe who was with Martin. Her name is Beauty, and she said that a guy paid her $10,000 to steal Martin's phone and drug him. She informs him that she has found in Vernon's file that he has a history of violence dating back to his childhood. He watched his dad kill his mom, who was an aspiring model, right in front of him, and it was a single stab wound on the left side between the ribs. Espinoza informs her that he called in a favor at the FBI, and it turns out that every single address Vernon had in and out of the country over the past 20 years has had a woman's mutilated corpse found within a 30-mile radius. Vernon wasn't on the FBI's radar because the FBI are stupid. He had always moved to another place whenever he was close to getting caught. To Leslie's horror, Vernon visits Leslie's bake shop. Later, Leslie tearfully shares with Kristen that Vernon visited her shop and threatened to kill her and the entire family. Kristen hijacks Vernon's date to threaten him that she's coming for him. Later, Vernon attacks Kristen, but Kristen manages to overpower him. Leslie, who has long wanted to personally get back at Vernon, hits his shiny head with a baseball bat. 3 months later, Kristen goes back to work with the jacked-up face Espinoza. It's picture day at Diana's school, and Diana poses for the photographer, Vernon, unaware that he's her sister's killer. Later, when Leslie picks her up, Diana's teacher, Roger, tells her that Diana left with her uncle. Panicking, Leslie instructs Roger to call the police, and she informs the family. The police informs them that the school's security footage shows that Vernon posed as a school photographer and put Diana in the trunk of his car. As the police help Leslie, who's having a breakdown, Kristen receives a text from Vernon asking her to go to an address and warns that he'll kill Diana if she brings the police. Shortly after, Espinosa realizes that Kristen is no longer in the house, so he immediately sets out to find her. When Kristen arrives, Vernon toys with her and reveals that she reminds him of his mom. She begs him to let Diana go and tells him that she knows about his mom. He takes this as a sign that they're meant to be together because she took the time to get to know him. Oh, he delulu. He reveals that it's the reason he spared her life. When Kristen notices that one of the tarpaulins is moving, she removes it and finds Diana underneath, bound and her mouth taped. As she is untying her, Vernon launches at her and slams her to the ground. Vernon pulls out a knife, angry that she talked about his mom. To calm the mama's boy down, she tells him that they do belong together and asks him to let her heal him. She then pulls out her taser and tases his ping pong balls. Vernon and Kristen fight, with Kristen being at a disadvantage. Fortunately, as Vernon swings his knife, Diana shoots him. Kristen immediately goes to Diana, takes the gun, and repeatedly shoots Vernon, who is about to launch at them, resulting in his death. Death by 10-year-old and Erica Mina is crazy. Kristen and Diana reunite with Leslie and Giovanni, relieved that their horror is finally over. Espinosa then asks Kristen out on a date, and she accepts. Girl, you can do way better than that. I was thinking Espinosa was going to be part of an elaborate scheme and in cahoots with Vernon, but I was wrong. What did y'all think of this one?
Hey, if you like this video, make sure you subscribe now and turn on the notification because YouTube isn't recommending my videos. And if you like to watch more foolishness, click here or here.